Hi, I'm Kathy, and I am going to be your yoga instructor for today. And today's special. Today's yoga is in recognition and celebration of the LGBTQ plus community and in celebration of Pride Week at our local University of Western Ontario. So thank you for joining me, and we are going to go through just a few moves that you can do if you're wondering if you are ready to do yoga, if you're not flexible enough to do yoga, if you're confined because of different biomechanic or conditions, or if you're just not sure about what yoga is exactly. So I'd like to invite you to visit the website www.uwo.ca/WesternUPride for some more information about any of the events that we're celebrating this week. Otherwise, please join me on your mat and we'll go through just a few moves in recognition of yoga and how it can be accessible to everyone. So as we take ourselves to the floor, please feel free to also use a chair, sitting wherever it is that you're comfortable, and just taking a cross-legged position. Cross-legged can be with knees bent, feet tucked under. If that's not comfortable, you can always leave your legs a little bit wider extended, or simply the legs out long on the ground, sitting up nice and tall. So as we sit in this position, what I'd like us to do is simply take a few shoulder rolls, acknowledging any of the tension that might be staying present in our neck, upper back, maybe going forward with those shoulder rolls as well. And now I invite everyone to simply sit here, finding a comfortable position, coming upright with the body, and with really nice posture, open collar, simply resting the hands on our knees or in the middle. And as we stay in this comfortable spot, if we're able to, let's close our eyes. And with our eyes closed, I want us all to take a moment and thank yourself. Not often enough do we give ourselves recognition and hold ourselves accountable for our self-care, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, psychological. And what's so great about yoga is we're able to check in with how we're feeling, check in with what's going on, take a moment to pause and reflect, to slow down and to reconnect. No matter what we're able to do physically, we're able to stay here, become present in the moment without judgment or competition. And we've left our egos at the door. Our ego is not allowed to come onto our mat. We're simply here to take care of our every need and to give ourselves permission to relax, to let go. Now, if we're able to draw one hand to our belly and one hand to our chest near the heart, connecting a little bit deeper now, just noticing if we can feel the beating of our heart, the rhythm. Noticing our hand on our stomach. I want to use this tactile kinesthetic feel to engage that diaphragmatic breath. We're not holding our breath up in our neck and chest, but we're digging deep, taking those deep belly breaths, taking a big inhale from the belly, inflating that balloon under the rib cage, causing the chest to rise, the neck to lengthen. And on the exhale, we breathe out and we deflate through the chest, the rib cage, the stomach. Continuing this breath, very natural. Allow the tempo, the pace, the depth to feel good. Don't force it, make it your own. And notice as we start to control our breathing, that we're able to control our emotions, our thoughts, our heart rate might slow down. We feel comfortable. From here, simply fluttering open the eyes, releasing the hands, another nice big shoulder roll, and taking ourselves next over onto hands and knees. Now this can also be done seated in the chair, and we'll take our hands onto our knees instead as we bend over, finding our cats and cows, Starting from that tailbone, we tuck the tail under, round the shoulders, and allow the chin to tuck into the chest. And then untucking the tailbone, we open up through the chest, looking forward, lifting tall through the crown of our head. Again, round that back, tuck the tailbone, bring the bellies up. Here we are in cat. Untucking the tailbone, opening forward into cow. Tucking the tailbone, rounding the back, finding cat. And one more time, untuck, open the shoulders, lift tall through crown of head, opening heart center, and release. Good, now slowly, I want us to take our right foot all the way forward into a lunge. Again, this can be done sitting in a chair if we're not comfortable with doing it from this position. I'll demonstrate quickly. From that seated posture, we can simply turn to the side, extend one leg back, and open up that hip as we press forward into that front foot. If this is an option for you, this is a really nice way to perform a lunge without bearing weight into the knees. And if we're still seated and we're not using the legs, we can absolutely do the focus of the upright posture without worrying about what's happening in the lower body. So if we're down in this posture on the legs, we want the knee to be above ankle. And then we'll take ourselves all the way up for balance if that's available to us. We can stay here with the hands or down on the floor. We can also reach those arms up really nice and tall. And as we hold this amazing runner's lunge, we're going to start to notice that that left back hip is opening up. It's really stretching. And if we're able to reach those arms tall, I want us all to explore the possibilities, closing our eyes, taking a few nice deep breaths. Recognize if we're holding tension in the shoulders, just let those shoulders come down away from our ears. Good, and then releasing the arms, slowly waterfalling them down to the ground. And however we're able to do this, we're going to switch legs. Bringing the left foot now in front, and then we can find our balance, or we can bring the hands back down to the floor, and we can reach our arms up nice and tall. Really enjoying this amazing stretch for the hip flexor, resting on the knees, or staying in a chair, seated as we focus on reaching those arms up tall, big deep breaths. One more big inhale. Exhale, releasing down. Sweeping that knee behind us. And let's circle sweep those legs out in front. Taking ourselves into a forward fold stretch. We're going to target behind the knees and all the way up the posterior phonetic chain into the back. We start with a big inhale, lifting the arms. Now exhale, reaching the hands forward, reaching over the legs, wherever that might be. We'll just drop the hands down. Maybe they're resting on the thighs, the shins, or on the floor. And we can do this sitting in a chair as well. Wherever we might be now, I want us to tuck the chin, relax the head, and roll the body down. Slow, deep breaths, checking in with how it feels to round the back. Maybe feeling a stretch behind the knees. And then we can roll ourselves upright and take our feet into butterfly. Now this one can be quite uncomfortable for some people depending on what's happening in your knees or your hips. So feel free to play with how far your feet are and how close they are into the body. As we hold our ankles, let's sit up really nice and tall, pressing those knees down into the floor. And then we can start to tuck our elbows in and reach forward. If you want a little bit more, we can add a little bit of pressure by pressing the elbows in against the knees. Again, let's tuck the chin. You can do this sitting on a chair as well, even bringing one foot up at a time. Or we can stay on the ground and enjoy the feeling of our hips opening. Slowly rolling up, bringing the knees in. Now, I'd like us to bring both legs out. We're going to twist a little bit, adding some spinal rotation, releasing any tension through that torso. How we'll do this is if we're sitting in a chair, we can simply cross the leg over. Since we're sitting down on the floor right now, we can bring that right knee up. So all of us together taking the right leg, and we can keep it on the inside or cross it over the outside. So we've all got that right knee lifted. We're sitting up really tall. Always imagine that we've got our crown on top of our head, and we can all do this very well. We can take our left arm and give ourselves a little bit of a hug. I always like the hug. Some people prefer to kind of press their arm open. Absolutely personal preference. What do we feel? But make sure the shoulder's not coming forward. Let's keep that shoulder back. Now as we sit really, really tall, hugging our knee in, go ahead and turn over that right shoulder. Slow your breathing again. Just a really nice, simple release. Still getting taller through the crown. Maybe on every breath out, we feel like a little bit more of a turn is happening. A little micro turn back behind us. Nothing forced, nothing expected. Welcoming the feelings, accepting what the feelings might be, and what they're telling us about our body. One more inhale, and exhale, releasing forward. Releasing the leg, let's take that left foot up. The left foot can be on the inside or the outside. And we'll go ahead and give ourselves a little bit of a hug here. Looking over that left shoulder this time. Again, drawing the collar open, the shoulders back and together. Really good posture is more effective in our stretching. It allows the muscles to lengthen more efficiently and more effectively. So as we continue to wear that crown proudly, let's rotate open, noticing how this power pose might empower us. Listening to the body, where do we feel the stretch? What sensations are we feeling? It's usually a good indication of what we need as well. Maybe what we've been doing this week has affected us and we haven't realized it up until this point. Taking that last big inhale, and exhale, releasing forward. Now, a couple of balance poses that we'll explore. Please feel free to do this standing, using the back of the chair as a point of focus to keep your hand rested, or we can also do this against the wall with your hand, or we can do it freestanding. And if we're choosing to sit during our balances, I recommend doing that from a chair if that's an option. So the first balance that we'll do today is going to be tree, starting with standing really nice and tall or sitting with the best upright posture available to us today. Go ahead and take our arms out forward. This is our mountain pose. It's anatomical pose, palms forward, feet grounded, zipping up, staying strong, staying open across the heart, and staying tall through the crown. With tree pose, I'd like us to take that right foot and open the knee as we draw the foot in. Now, I always like to start with a kickstand, simply placing the foot against the ground and against the ankle. We can explore drawing it up onto the calf. And if we'd like to, we can also take that foot all the way up onto the inner thigh. Now, if you've got that chair nearby, sometimes it's nice too to play with resting the knee against the chair and the hands can be on the back of the chair. Now, when we're here, taking our hands into a place that are going to help us hold this intentionally. So we can reach them out long, low limbs. We can bring them up higher, reaching towards the sun. We can take a wonderful prayer position, settling into heart center. Wherever it might be today, let's make sure it's done with intention and with purpose. We've opened across the hips. We're reaching up tall. We relax the shoulders, and we're continuing to focus on balance. Again, just another moment to pause, check in with ourselves, take a couple nice big breaths. Now from here, we release the arms, release the legs, and I always like to pedal the feet. If we're not pedaling the feet, maybe we're rolling the shoulders, just getting the blood to circulate again, redistributing it across the body. Arms are down. Let's do the other side. We balance right and left, taking that left foot, drawing it in towards the other leg as we open the knee. Kickstand, calf, inner thigh. Just try to avoid placing it directly on the knee for safety reasons. Arms can come into whatever position feels good. Roll the shoulders down, zipping up, wear our crown proudly. And if we're using the chair, how are we using it? Are we really relying on it? Are we able to sit up tall and find our focus? And if we're sitting tall, noticing, can we close our eyes? If we're standing, can we close our eyes? Taking away that visual sense, relying on our feelings, breathing, focusing, and then release. Again, let's wiggle that out. and roll the shoulders down. Our last balance pose is going to be our figure 4. This is going to be done standing or sitting. I'm going to demonstrate it standing first, and then you have the option to do whichever is best for your body. So we'll be making the number 4. Do that with my legs. And then from here, we sit down into a single leg squat. Let me turn to the side so you can see that I'm squatting down in the back. So if we're going to do this from a chair, we can do it sitting up really nice and tall, probably sitting at the edge of your chair if that's an option. And then we can take our legs out a little bit longer as we reach that foot up above the knee onto the thigh. Now this position might be plenty. It might be all you need to start stretching through the outside of that hip up and through the thigh. Others, we may find that if we can come into a more direct 90-degree angle, we're able to better externally rotate through that hip, and you can even apply a little bit of pressure as long as you're comfortable with it, sitting up tall, closing our eyes perhaps, and taking a few deep breaths. So I invite you, if you haven't yet joined me, to find this position. Take those deep breaths. Noticing what we're feeling, any sensation. If we're standing and we find this a balance exercise difficult, explore placing your hand on the back of the chair against a wall. Taking one more big inhale. And exhale, release. And we'll take the other foot. However we need to get it up there. Noticing, I hope, that if this is your first time maybe doing yoga as we find this position, or if you haven't quite figured out whether or not it's for you, understanding that yoga truly is for everybody and every body. Modifications are plentiful, various, and can absolutely be used with every single pose that we do. We encourage it, and what we really encourage in the world of yoga is to celebrate ourselves, to take time for ourselves, to care for ourselves, to understand exactly what our body's telling us today. Not what it said yesterday, not what it's going to say tomorrow, but right now in this moment, what is it that I need? And then as a community, we can practice that together. Quite beautiful. Taking just a couple of more breaths as we continue to hold this figure 4 pose. Wonderful hip stretch. And then start to slowly release out of that. Now as we come into our final conclusion of our class, this will be our final relaxation. Please feel free to get comfortable in a seated position, or if you'd prefer, what's commonly seen and observed in yoga class is to lay down. So we'll demonstrate Shavasana, translated into corpse pose. You can lay down, taking the legs out slightly, turning the feet open to relax the hips. Arms are down by our side, palms open, or they can come onto the belly and the heart. Again, to feel the breathing, to feel the heart rate. Finding the position that's best for us, whether we choose to stay in Shavasana, laying on the ground, or if we'd prefer to remain seated. And I'll demonstrate seated as well. Seated can be legs straight, cross-legged, half lotus, which is the one leg on top, or we can do both feet up, taking ourselves into lotus. With our hands resting on our knees, shoulders down, whichever pose we've decided to take today, I'll invite everyone to close our eyes. Take those slow, deep breaths, remembering that anything that's important will be there waiting for us at the end of our practice. So give yourself permission to focus on the here and now. Sometimes it helps if we really count our breathing. We focus on the inhale, counting for 5, take a pause, and then count our exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whatever that count may be. Others really truly use this as a moment for body scan. And while we're laying or sitting here, perhaps we're exploring moving from our feet all the way up through the torso, out to our fingertips, into the very, follicles of our hair even, is what is every single section of our body telling us right now, today. It's a great opportunity, like a little x-ray, a little doctor's appointment every single time we come into our yoga practice. Continuing to focus on our breathing, Focus on our body. Throughout this final relaxation, I encourage you just relax the muscles in your face, your neck, your shoulders. Let go of the tongue. Let it fall from the roof of your mouth, releasing any tension from our jaw. And slowly go ahead and start to wiggle those fingers, wiggle the toes, maybe even rolling and wrists and ankles in little circles. Now, if we're laying down, slowly starting to find our way into that seated posture. If we were seated, trying to just reawaken the body, check back in with where you are and what you're doing. Our hands are still resting just gently on the knees, still sitting up tall, aware of that crown, wearing it proudly. I want to thank everyone again for taking just a few moments to experience yoga and to recognize all of the efforts that are going in to celebrate our LGBTQ+ community here with recognition of Pride Week at Western University in London, Ontario. Inhaling our hands up to prayer. Exhale, coming down to heart center. Namaste. Thank you very much, everyone.